Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, the really fascinating world of the global access control market. We've got a detailed report here looking at growth projections, regional dynamics, all that good stuff. Our mission really is to pull out the key nuggets for you, give you a shortcut to understanding this rapidly expanding sector. What's driving it, where the big changes are, so you can be really well informed by the end of this.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how relevant this actually is to your daily life.
Yeah.
Maybe more than you'd initially think. I mean, we're talking about the systems managing who gets into, well, everywhere.
Yeah.
Commercial spaces, your apartment building perhaps, government facilities. It's kind of the invisible guardian, letting the right people in, keeping others out, mostly without us even noticing.
Right. The invisible guardian. I like that. And when you say rapidly expanding, you weren't kidding. Here's where it gets really interesting. This global market is projected to more than double. We're talking about going from roughly $8.3 billion back in 2021 to a huge $20.4 billion by 2033. That's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 7.8%. And for anyone maybe not familiar, CAGR is basically the average annual growth over time, kind of smooths out the bumps.
Exactly. It gives you a clearer, long-term picture. And 7.8%. That's significant growth year on year, consistently.
It absolutely is. And, when we look at what's actually fueling this,
Yeah, what are the drivers?
it boils down to a couple of core things. First, just this rising demand for better, smarter security everywhere. Commercial, residential, government, everyone wants more control. Second, and this is crucial, it's the technology. Huge leaps in biometrics.
It's like facial recognition, fingerprints.
Precisely. Your face is your key, that sort of thing. And also the big shift towards cloud-based systems. That means you can manage access remotely, scale it up easily. It brings a ton of flexibility.
So it's not just about tighter security, it's also convenience.
Exactly. Enhanced security and convenience, they're increasingly going hand in hand. Okay, so that's the big picture. Let's zoom in a bit. Where is this growth actually happening? Maybe start with North America. The report projects it hitting, over $8.3 billion by 2033? That's a 7.5% CAGR. Pretty solid.
It is solid, and North America is interesting. The U.S. is, of course, the giant, expected to reach nearly $6.5 billion itself.
Okay.
But look at Canada and Mexico. Canada's growing faster at 8.3% CAGR, heading towards $1 billion, and Mexico, even faster, a really high 9.4% CAGR, pushing towards $860 million.
Wow. So the U.S. is the biggest market, but Canada and Mexico have stronger momentum percentage-wise.
That's right. It suggests maybe faster adoption of new tech or perhaps new infrastructure projects driving demand there. It shows the growth isn't uniform.
Interesting. Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. What's the story there? Looks like it's projected to reach almost $3.5 billion with a 7.4% CAGR. Similar overall rate to North America.
Very similar overall, yes. But again, you see variations within the region. The UK is a real leader here, growing at 8.5%.
Higher than the regional average.
And Germany is right there, too, a strong 7.7% CGR, reaching about $864 million. Then you have France and Italy with significant market sizes as well, around $450 million and $300 million, respectively, by 2033. And countries like Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, they're all showing steady, healthy growth, too, mostly between 6% and 7.3% CGR.
So strong, consistent growth across Europe, driven by maybe regulations, smart buildings?
I think that's a big part of it. Stricter compliance rules,
Right.
Definitely the push for smart building tech and ongoing modernization efforts.
Right. Okay, we've covered the sort of established giants, North America, Europe, now Asia Pacific, often touted as the really dynamic region. So what does this all mean for this definite region? The report shows huge expansion from about $2 billion to over $5.3 billion by 2033. That's an 8.3% CAGR, higher than NA or Europe.
It really is dynamic.
Okay.
And China is, well, dominant is the word, expected to hit almost $1.93 billion itself, growing at 8.6%.
Huge.
But the real standout in terms of speed might be India, a massive 9.2% CAGR, growing to over $614 million.
9.2%, that's rapid.
Extremely rapid. It shows how developing economies are really jumping on these technologies. And it's not just them. Japan is projected to be strong, close to $1 billion. South Korea over $420 million. Australia around $380 million. And then you've got Taiwan with an even higher TAGR, 9.8%, and Southeast Asia collectively at 9%.
Wow. So across the board in APAC, from the giants to the rapidly developing areas, it's just strong growth.
Very strong. Driven by urbanization, tech adoption, huge government investments in things like smart cities. It's a key growth engine globally.
Okay, impressive. Let's shift focus again. South America, the numbers here are smaller overall, but still significant growth, right? Projected to more than double, too, from around $400 million to over $930 million. That's a 7.2% CAGR.
That's right. Smaller base, but solid, consistent growth. Brazil is the leader there, as you might expect, projected to hit over $417 million, growing at 7.4%.
Okay.
But Argentina and Colombia are important, too. Argentina's at 7.7% CJR, Colombia at 7.5%.
So similar drivers, urbanization, modernizing security.
Generally, yes. Increasing focus on commercial and industrial security,
Yeah.
upgrading older systems, that sort of thing.
Got it. So we've done the established markets, the big dynamic one in APAC and South America. Now, the report really seems to spotlight the Middle East and Africa as like emerging high-growth frontiers. What's happening there?
Yeah, this is where you see some of the highest rates of growth. Really remarkable acceleration. Take the Middle East. Projected to reach nearly $1 billion, $965 million roughly, by 2033. That's an 8.5% CAGR.
Strong.
And within that, Saudi Arabia is leading the charge. A very high 9.1% CAGR, heading for $345 million. The UAE is close behind, 8.9% CAGR, plus solid numbers for Turkey and Egypt as well.
What's fueling that in the Middle East? Oil money diversifying into tech and infrastructure.
Largely, yes. Massive construction projects, huge investments in smart city initiatives, tourism infrastructure, and just a general focus on security modernization across the Gulf states.
Okay. And Africa. You mentioned remarkable acceleration.
Africa is, well, it's projected to more than double, from about $500 million in 2021 to over $1.3 billion by 2033. That's an overall CAGR for the continent of 8.9%. Really robust.
More than doubling.
And look at the key players. Nigeria is projected to hit nearly $473 million, growing at 9.4%. And South Africa, even higher, projected $615 million, with a stunning 9.7% CAGR.
Wow. Okay, that Africa projection, more than doubling, that's huge. And South Africa at almost 10% growth per year. That really stands out. What makes Africa, and particularly countries like Nigeria and South Africa, such hot spots right now? Is it leapfrogging older tech? Or
It's likely a combination of factors. Rapid economic development in pockets, increased foreign investment certainly plays a role, a growing middle class demanding better security in residential and commercial areas, and yes, potentially leapfrogging older, less efficient systems straight to newer cloud-based and biometric solutions. They're just massive, accelerating demand. And if we connect this back, all this regional detail, it really just underlines those big drivers we talked about at the start.
Right, the global trends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a rising demand for smart, often contactless, security everywhere. It's the move to cloud platforms for flexibility. And it's governments globally putting money into modernizing infrastructure and public safety. These forces are playing out everywhere, just at different speeds.
So bringing it back to the listener, what does this all mean for you? Well, think about your own experiences. That new key card at work, the facial recognition at the airport gate, maybe smart locks in newer buildings. It's all part of this huge shift. This access control landscape is constantly changing, trying to find that sweet spot between keeping things secure and making life convenient. So what we've really seen today is just how massive this global access control market is and how much it's transforming. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a clear, concise overview of the key trends, the drivers, and where things are heading regionally.
And perhaps this raises an important question to think about. As these systems get smarter, more integrated, maybe even more predictive, how do we navigate that balance? The balance between ever-increasing security and things like our personal privacy and just simple everyday convenience. That's definitely something worth mulling over.
Welcome back. Ever stop to think about the systems working behind the scenes, deciding who gets into, say, your office building? Or even what files you can open? It's everywhere, really fundamental, but we often barely notice it. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something called the access control market. Now, I know that sounds maybe a bit technical, but trust me, it's having a huge impact on how we all interact with, well, spaces and information. Our mission here is pretty simple. We've got excerpts from a big report by Cognitive Market Research, and we're going to pull out the absolute key insights for you. Think of it like your shortcut to getting a handle on this whole area. It's moving fast, and there are some genuinely surprising things going on. We're going to focus on three main things in this deep dive. First up, what's driving the really significant growth in this market? We'll unpack the drivers. Then we need to look at the flip side, the barriers and challenges. What's holding things back? And finally, we'll get into the exciting part, the future trends. What's coming down the pipeline?
Okay, ready to jump in. So this Cognitive Market Research report, it starts by saying, look, this market is growing and growing fast.
we all get the basic need for security, but what are the maybe less obvious drivers the report points to? What's really lighting a fire under this market right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. One thing the report really emphasizes is how the type of security threat is changing. It's not just, worrying about someone breaking window anymore.
Right.
We're seeing more and more of these cyber physical attacks. That's where someone breaches a system digitally, maybe online, to then gain physical access.
Ah, okay. So the digital and physical worlds are colliding more directly in terms of threats.
Exactly. And that forces organizations to think differently. They need systems that are integrated, that protect both fronts. It's a real shift in how people perceive the risks.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's not just about defending against new threats, is it? The report also talks quite a bit about adopting new tech proactively. Things like advanced biometrics, smart key cards, cloud solutions. How are those changing things?
Precisely. The report stresses this move towards, well, smarter infrastructure, smart buildings, for instance, and all these IoT security frameworks, they're becoming huge.
IoT meaning Internet of Things, connecting devices.
Correct. And these systems, they go way beyond just letting someone in or out. They allow for centralized monitoring, seeing who's where when. They let you manage doors remotely. And maybe most importantly, they offer much better threat analytics.
Analytics, so like spotting patterns.
Exactly. It's moving away from just reacting when an alarm goes off to actually understanding patterns, maybe predicting potential security issues before they even happen. Proactive, not just reactive.
Okay, interesting. Now, there's another angle the report brings up. Regulations. Things like GDPR, APA, workplace safety rules, stuff that maybe feels a bit dry, but how much impact does that really have on companies buying these access systems?
Oh, it's a massive driver.
Yeah.
The report makes it clear that compliance isn't just a nice to have. These regulations are legal requirements.
Right, non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Companies have to invest in secure systems to control access, especially to protect sensitive data. Think patient records under IPA or personal data covered by GDPR.
So the stick is pretty big there.
It is. The report points out that the potential cost of not complying, the fines, the damage to your reputation, it often dwarfs the cost of putting in a robust access control system in the first place.
Okay, so we've got these strong drivers pushing things forward. You'd think it would be smooth sailing, but the report also flags some significant roadblocks. Let's talk about those persistent barriers. What's slowing down adoption?
Yeah, this is where the sort of practical stuff bites. The biggest barrier, and the report puts numbers on this, is simply the high initial cost.
The price tag for the systems themselves.
That, yes, but it's often more than just the hardware. It's
Yeah.
integrating these new systems with whatever the company already has, especially older legacy infrastructure. That integration can be really complex, time-consuming.
So the project gets bigger and more expensive than just buying the boxes.
Exactly. It stretches out deployment times, sometimes for months, and significantly bumps up the total cost. And that can be a real showstopper, particularly for, say, small or medium-sized businesses. They might not have the cash up front or the IT folks to handle it.
I can absolutely see that being a major issue. Yeah, especially for growing companies. Now, beyond money, there's the whole privacy angle. The report mentions concerns around biometric data, fingerprints, faces, and also surveillance. How does that play out?
It creates a lot of nervousness. The report notes this apprehension among both the people using the systems and the regulators.
Understandably.
Right. When you're collecting really personal data like a fingerprint or using systems that track movement constantly, people need to trust how that data is being used and protected.
The potential for misuse or data leaks.
Exactly. That fear can really put the brakes on adoption. It forces this difficult balancing act. How do you get better security without making people feel like their privacy is being invaded? It's a really key ethical tightrope the industry is walking.
Yeah, a tricky one. And then there's the logistics, right? Especially in places without great infrastructure. The report mentions challenges in low infrastructure or remote areas. What kind of problems do they face?
It really just boils down to the basics these advanced systems need. You need reliable internet connectivity for cloud systems or IoT devices.
Which isn't a given everywhere.
Not at all. And you also need people with the technical skills nearby to install and maintain this stuff. If you have patchy internet or there's just no qualified support around,
Then the fancy cloud-based solution isn't going to work.
pretty much it relies on that solid digital backbone. So these regions end up at a real disadvantage. It creates a kind of digital divide in security levels.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've looked at what's pushing growth and what's holding it back.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears to the future. The report looks ahead too, right?
Mhm.
What are the really interesting cutting-edge trends shaping this industry now?
Definitely.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest, according to the report, is this major shift towards cloud-based systems and using your mobile phone for access.
Using your smartphone instead of a key card.
Exactly. It's a huge trend. These systems are often more scalable, easier to add or remove users, and can be more cost-effective than managing physical cards or fobs.
Less hardware to worry about, maybe.
In some ways, yes. The report shows data on how quickly smartphones, QR codes, NFC tech on your phone,
Uh-huh.
how quickly that's replacing the traditional plastic access card. Your phone is literally becoming your key for everything.
I've definitely seen that starting to happen more.
hmm
But it's not just about swapping a card for a phone, is it? The report talks about security getting smarter, too, with things like multi-factor authentication and AI. What's happening there?
Right. It's about adding layers and intelligence. Multi-factor authentication, needing more than one thing to prove who you are, that's becoming standard. But the AI part is where it gets really interesting, as the report details.
How so?
AI moves security from just checking credentials to actually understanding behavior. Think about behavioral biometrics. It's not just your fingerprint, but how you type, maybe even how you walk, analyzed subtly in the background.
Wow, okay, that sounds much harder to fake than just stealing a password.
Immensely harder. Even if someone steals your phone or your password, they probably won't type like you or move like you. AI also enables things like anomaly detection, spotting unusual activity automatically, and generating alerts before something bad happens. It makes the whole system way more intelligent, more resilient.
So, much smarter, more adaptive security. And the last big trend the report highlights sounds like it brings everything together. Integration. Connecting access control with other systems.
Yeah, this is really key. It ties into that idea of a unified, intelligent security ecosystem. Access control isn't just its own little island anymore.
It talks to other things.
Exactly. It's integrating more and more with video surveillance, linking access events with camera footage, for example. It's connecting with cybersecurity systems, sharing threat information, even linking with building automation like lighting or HVAC.
So you get this single cohesive view of security.
Precisely. Physical security and digital security managed together, it leads to a much more holistic approach, more efficient, more proactive. It's about securing the entire environment, not just the front door.
Wow. Okay, that really covers a lot of ground. And that brings us towards the end of our deep dive today into the access control market. We set out to pull the key insights for you from those cognitive market research report excerpts, hopefully giving you a clear picture of what's happening.
And just to quickly recap what we found, we saw, yes, the market's definitely growing strongly. That's being pushed by these evolving security worries, things like cyber physical threats, data breaches, basic intrusions, plus the adoption of much smarter tech like biometrics, cloud solutions, smart buildings using IoT for better monitoring and analytics. And don't forget the push from regulations like GDPR and IPAA.
The compliance piece.
Then we hit the barriers, high initial costs, especially the integration challenges, hitting smaller companies harder. Those persistent privacy concerns around biometrics and surveillance are definitely real. And the basic operational hurdles in places with poor internet or lack of tech support.
Yeah.
And finally, the future trends. That big shift to cloud and mobile access your phone as your key. The rise of multi-factor authentication and really powerful AI features like behavioral biometrics and spotting anomalies. And crucially, that trend towards integration, tying access control into video, cyber, building systems to create these unified, intelligent security ecosystems. It really points towards a future where physical and digital protection are deeply intertwined.
That's quite a picture, isn't it? This move towards unified, intelligent systems that bridge our physical and digital lives so closely. It really makes you think.
Yeah.
Given all that, how do you think these increasingly sophisticated access control systems are going to change our own personal boundaries, our very sense of what security feels like day to day in the years ahead? Something to ponder.